Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, many home sellers fear that inspection. Many people think that most buyers want to purchase their home as is. What are some of the red flags that home sellers need to prepare for when it comes to selling their home?
Well, Richard, the most common contract failure is our inspections. Essentially, in this state, they kind of set the sellers up for failure in that there is no qualification to be an inspector. So every week, this goes on every week, I get crazy stuff that these agents are asking for. Like they'll go, well, my inspector could not figure out, where the sewer line was. And I'm like, what are you doing in the sewer line? I don't allow unlicensed, unqualified inspectors to explore going into a sewer line. So I'm going to push back on those kind of things every day. And most agents just assume that their inspector knows exactly what they're doing. And there's just no qualification. Some of them will do an online certification, if that makes you feel any better. But even then, they are not experts in any trade, right? So they will all of a sudden go, oh, well, your roof is 10 years old, therefore it needs to be replaced, even though the roof's in perfect shape. Or my favorite is water heaters. I just got one the other night that said, well, the water heater is soon to be beyond its useful life. The average useful life is 8 to 12 years. This thing's 8 years old. Even though it's working fine, they convinced the buyer to give them a new water heater. And I'm like, well, would you like fries with that too? I mean, no, we're not doing that. I mean, the purpose of an inspection is to confirm the systems are working. This is not their opportunity to upgrade stuff. If it's broken, okay, I understand that, and it should be addressed. But if it's working, you don't deem it dead just because it's a certain age. They do the same thing with smoke detectors. They do the same thing with carbon monoxide detectors. And they also try to impose today's building code on older homes. I just had an inspector convince a seller recently to impose tomorrow's building code on the furnace, which requires some kind of, I don't know what it was, some kind of drain pan around the furnace, but it was expensive. It was $1,900, and it's not even current code. It's next year's code. So, I don't think it's fair to ask the seller to update the home to today's building code. And, we're having our furnace looked at right now, Richard, because apparently there's some new building code that's going to change after the first of the year, that if you wait until next year to update your furnace, if it needs to be updated, it's going to cost a lot more money because of these new emission standards and all of that. So we're definitely turning into California as far as stuff is concerned. So I'm glad he told me that, because we have two furnaces. One of them was replaced about 8 years ago, and the home is 24 years old. And another one is original, but it still works. There's nothing wrong with it. But if I wait until next year, I'm going to spend another $3,000 or $4,000 replacing that furnace that needs to be replaced. So it's good to know that kind of information. But that doesn't mean you have to replace it. If it's not broken, you don't have to fix it. So I don't know why they are trying to get the buyers to demand stuff like this. And, even though it says in the contract that the home is sold as is, where is, with all its faults, it gives the buyer the opportunity to do their inspection, but it doesn't allow them to automatically get new stuff. And I also have a client that's more or less a corporate seller. They're the asset management company for the Secretary of Veterans Affairs across the whole nation. So right now we're handling over a dozen properties for them. And when they sell their homes, they're as is. So the buyer's welcome to do their inspection. If the plumbing is not compromised, they may or may not let them turn the water on. But other than that, they're not fixing anything. It's a thumbs up or thumbs down. That's the whole purpose of the inspection for those homes. I wish it was true for the traditional sales homes, but it's not. So what happens is these inspectors come in and they go, oh, you've got a little bit of dirt right there on that windowsill. That must be mold. You got to have mold remediation. I mean, they just make up stuff, and it makes me crazy. One of my agents just helped a buyer buy a house, and she fired the agent brought the inspector. She fired him over this because the house was older, and he automatically said, oh, this drywall has asbestos. It's going to be $35,000 to fix it. So now he's convinced the buyer to ask for a $35,000 concession. It almost caused the inspector to blow up the deal. And she told the inspector, you're fired. You didn't test for asbestos. You don't know if that's true or not. Why are you saying that? I'm not going to ever use you again. So it's the same thing with inexperienced real estate agents, right? I was talking to one of my clients about this yesterday, about how they'll come in and they will try to disparage the home and say things, even though they're supposed to be the salesperson, in order to make themselves look like they are experts in the field. Okay. And the problem is that they discourage the buyer from buying the home that they love. Almost anything is fixable. So it doesn't make sense why these inspectors encourage these buyers to ask for things. So there are a lot of things that get requested on an inspection. Now, some of the buyer's agents will try to make the buyer look more attractive, especially if there's competition, by saying, oh, we're only going to ask for health and safety and major systems. That's it. We're not going to ask for cosmetic. But then they do end up asking for cosmetic anyway. So that's what you say, but it's not what you do. It drives me crazy. But we know that these inspectors in this state are not qualified to really judge the systems. Some of them are pretty good. I have an inspector that I work with all the time that I trust and I respect, but he isn't the kind of guy to say, I know it needs a new water heater just because it's old. He doesn't do that. He says, this is the normal lifespan. You might want to have a plumber look at it. He doesn't deem these systems dead, like water heaters, roofs, smoke detectors, and carbon monoxide detectors, without some kind of verification. Usually, if there is something to substantiate the condition issue, then that makes sense. Probably the most common thing that get hit on inspections, even now this time of year, are roofs. So most people don't worry about their roof if it's not leaking. And in this climate, we have hailstorms every summer. Some are lightweight, some are not. You never know, right? And you never know if your roof has been damaged by hail. So that's something that we offer our home sellers to get a free roof check before they go on the market. That way they know in advance if they have to deal with that. It's one of the biggest ticket items that you might have to repair, replace. I have one seller that had a relatively new roof, but it was showing signs of wear, but no hail damage. So two roofers said he needed a new roof. The third one said, oh, I can fix it. And I have the shingles to match. But guess what happened? They showed up, they pulled the damaged shingles off, and they put on the wrong color. It was a brown roof. They put on black shingles. So guess what he had to do? He had to pay to replace this roof that didn't have hail damage. So you really want to work with trusted vendors. Another high ticket item, of course, are furnaces. If they're newer, I would recommend to get ahead of it, have it cleaned and serviced. The electrical panels are another area that could be a problem if it's an older home. The older panels, called Federal Pacific, if you go online and you research a Federal Pacific panel, it will terrify you and make you think your house is going to burn down. However, there are some models of that brand that are okay and some that are not. So you want to look into that before you put your home on the market. Another big ticket item area of concern are the sewer lines and or septic lines. So sewer lines, generally, every time I ask a seller, have you ever checked your sewer line? I would say 9 out of 10 times they're saying, no, we haven't had any problems. And that's the thing. They don't do anything with it if it didn't back up. But over time, especially with big healthy trees, the roots could get into the pipes and that kind of thing. You might want to have it checked out. So the latest trend that started in 2018 is these Joe Billy Bob inspectors come along and go, oh, I'm going to check your sewer line. So they bring out this big roll of cord with a camera on the end, and they don't know what they're doing. So these are people that are not even plumbers running these cords across your flooring that have been inside sewer lines, which is all gross all by itself, right? And they don't even know what they're looking at. I've looked at these videos of sewer lines. I don't know what I'm looking at. It just looks like the inside of a pipe to me. That's not that pretty. So, these guys don't know what they're doing. I've had them break stuff. I've had them drop the cap on the sewer line, down the sewer line, and not be able to get it out. I've had them go down the wrong pipe. It's just, that's not their arena. So we finally, and oh, my favorite thing is that they pull toilets. I love that part, without permission. Now imagine, Richard, it's your house. Somebody's coming along doing an inspection, not licensed, not qualified, not a plumber, and decides on their own to just pull a toilet and check out the sewer line. How do you feel about that?
I am angry as can be, and I'm wishing that I'd hired Barb Schlinker to represent me.
Yeah, so I have to push back. I reached a point now where I have to push back in the contract to tell the buyer, if you want to check the sewer line, you need to bring in a licensed plumber to do it. That is not going to be something that an unlicensed inspector can do. So that same with septic. Now, septic, if you have problems with your septic, it could take months to get those things resolved. So if you have a septic system, you definitely want to have it inspected prior to going on the market to get that all done. And there's many more. There's electrical, there's plumbing, appliances. Just so you know, some of the appliances that are offered with a home are not part of the real estate. Things like refrigerator, washer, and dryer, those are a gift to the buyer. But the inspectors come along and they're like, well, if it's included, I'm going to check it out. And, oh, look, the water dispenser, the ice dispenser is not working. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you need to fix that. And we have to put in the contract that those things are offered as a courtesy as is, because it's a gift to the buyer. If you've ever been down to a used appliance store, as I have many times, it's pretty expensive, just a used appliance. It's not part of the real estate. So if you're leaving those things, they are a present. If they have a problem with their ice maker, they're as is. So sorry, the buyer can get it fixed themselves. So if you are thinking of making a move and you really want a good checklist on how to get ready for your inspection, give me a call. We've got a great checklist for that. You can go to barbhasthebuyers.com, click on free reports, or give us a call at 719-301-3900. I'm Barb Schlinker, the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice, and we're talking about how you avoid contract failures. And when we come back, we're going to touch on briefly the best thing you can do to prepare for your inspection. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you are interested in selling your home, you want to call Barb at 719-301-3900. And we're talking, Barb, about how to avoid those red flags on a home inspection for sellers. Barb, what are some of the other home inspection issues that you've seen come up?
Well, those, it's the funnest part for me because I'm always surprised every single day. But I will tell you, the best way you can prepare for it is get an inspection ahead of going on the market. That way, you can plan for anything that you have to fix. We offer something called our proprietary certified pre-owned home program, which helps you avoid those red flags, because the last thing you want is to think your home is sold, start packing out your house, everything's hunky-dory, and then, oh, inspection comes along and you have to budget for all these major repairs that you didn't see coming. You want to know all that stuff in advance, and we can help you do that. So give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you are thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719 301 3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing the best way to sell a house fast in Colorado's higher inventory market, plus Barb's hot new listings.